Welcome to the Mathematics Professional Development Series. My name is Craig Dierking, and I'm part of the Making Math Matter grant. In cooperation with Blue Springs School District, Wellington-Napolean School District, Center School District, and Hickman Mills School District. With me today is Heather Lehman. Heather's a teacher at Wellington-Napolean School District, and she teaches first grade. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you.
Heather, could you give me a little bit of background about Wellington-Napolean and your school district?
Our school district is a very small community. There's about 800 people in the community. We are K through 12, one building. This year I have 13 students in my class, so it ranges anywhere from that to maybe up to about 20, so very small atmosphere.
Wow. Is that something you're familiar with?
Yes, I grew up in Wellington, actually. I graduated from there. I started school in Wellington in the second grade, so it's really all that I know.
For me, first grade is such a foundational year. I mean, everything in mathematics that they're going to learn is going to be building on that first grade year. To me, it's probably one of the most important. Why first grade for you? And how long have you been teaching it?
This is my 12th year teaching, and the first grade students are just so open to learning new things, and they love learning. Their minds are not closed about anything. You can just feed them with the information that they need, and they're willing to do whatever they need to do. So it's really fun to see the challenges that you can give them and see where they go from there.
You know, when I was watching your class the day of your lesson, it was amazing to me that the kids had all of these procedures and everything down pat. How did you set up this lesson, or how do you set up your classroom?
Lots of routine and procedures from the beginning. As far as the manipulatives and all of the tools that were at their desk during that lesson, I did not just throw those tools at them that day and expect them to know what to do. From day one, we introduced the first math tool, and we practiced and practiced using that and utilizing that in all of their math lessons. And then we just slowly introduce a new tool each time, and it just becomes fluid motion for them. And they know what is expected, and they understand what they need to do with that tool and how it helps them to be better learners.
Wow. Again, probably it was just amazing to watch the class, probably the best first grade class I've ever seen. What was your main focus of that day?
That day we were working with number bonds, and basically I gave them a task, and it was an open-ended task. We have been working with number bonds for a couple weeks, and then that day, I just presented them with a task that provided them an opportunity to be able to come up with a variety of different parts to create the whole. So I didn't give them a number and tell them that it had to be one certain number bond. It was an actual problem, and we used real-life scenarios. So we talked about recess and playing out at recess. So I said that there were a certain amount of kids playing at recess, and they had to come up with who was on the slides and who was on the swings.
You know, when I was watching your kids work on this, you know, they weren't just doing one specific tool. It seems like they had lots of options. Why lots of options versus just one way to do it?
Well, students learn in different ways. So what might work for one student isn't going to work for another student. I had one particular child who didn't even need the tools because he has excelled from beyond that, and he can just do this stuff mentally now. So there's no point in letting him just sit there and routinely use the tools if he doesn't need them. So the end goal is to get them to be able to do this stuff mentally and not rely on the tools. So the more that we're using the tools, the more they're going to be able to form that picture in their mind to just be able to do it. Several of my students still rely on needing a 10 frame and counting one-to-one correspondence. Other students are okay with the fluid motion of the rec and rec, and it's just whatever works for them at the time.
What challenges did you face with today's lesson? You know, I saw a lot of kids doing different tasks. Is it challenging for you to try to manage that? What challenges did you see today?
With the structures I had in place, the lesson was able to flow very smoothly. I feel like they were used to using all of the tools that were presented to them, and I think the upcoming challenges are going to be then to try to get them away from the tool and not rely so much on that.
So in looking at the lesson today, which was amazing, where do you go from here? What's happening tomorrow and in the future?
In the future, the goal is going to be for them to become so fluid in using the manipulatives and having a deeper understanding of what is happening within the problem that we will end up turning it into more of a mental thing, and they will be framing everything around the number 10. So being able to do that without relying on the manipulatives.
With the manipulatives, do you think that is really what makes the difference in the classroom from where you were 10 years ago to where you are now? Is the manipulatives the biggest part of student learning?
I think it's a really big part in it. It's not the only part. I also feel like we need to, as teachers, make sure that we aren't just feeding them the instruction. We need to allow them to come up with the different solutions on their own as we are facilitating with a variety of questions for deeper understanding. As a teacher, I feel like if I am providing the deeper tasks for them to solve, then I can go around group to group and help facilitate the instruction in that way rather than just telling them exactly what to do.
How much PD have you had, and what PD has been really important for you in coming up with this lesson and moving forward?
This is my 5th year with the Making Math Matters grant, and it has provided me with so much professional development. I don't really even know where to start. Prior to the math grant, I was your typical teacher of standing at the front of the class and telling them exactly how to do a problem, and then we would practice it together, and then they would get a homework sheet that went home.
Final thoughts. I mean, I thought it was an amazing lesson. The kids were on task, they were learning, it was a collaborative environment. What are your final thoughts about today?
My final thoughts are just the appreciation I have for being a part of this grant to help me become a better teacher and to help my students be better learners.
Let's look at the awesome lesson that Heather put in front of us today.
Today, we are going to work some more with number bonds. We've been practicing working with numbers and breaking apart our numbers. We are going to do some tasks today that involve working with your number bonds. So who can remember why a number bond is important?
Because there's a part-part whole.
What is a part-part whole?
There's 2 parts because that makes up the whole. And the whole is the bigger number.
Okay. Jaden.
Number bonds can help you learn.
Number bonds help you learn? How do number bonds help you learn? Samuel.
Because number bonds help you break away numbers so you can put in the parts and then you can put in the bigger whole so it would make the bigger number.
Okay. We're going to do our number talk. So think about what you see up there, apply it to your number bonds. Think of your math tools. Think of all of the ways that you see different numbers up there. What do you see? So how many do you see all together up there?
11.
You see 11 up there? Gavin, prove it. How do I know that there's 11?
Because if you move the 5 up, it makes 10, after 10 comes 11, and there's 1 more, so it makes 11.
So 5 and 6 make 11. And we were saying that some of you said 10 and 1. We moved the 5 up, and we make 11. Today with your group, you're going to think about being on the playground. How many of you guys love playing on the playground? All right, so your task, you're going to think about being on the playground today. And there are 15 children on the playground. Some are going down the slide and some are swinging. How many children are going down the slide and how many children are swinging? How many are sliding?
4.
4. Can you show me that? So show me your 4 that you chose that are sliding. Okay. How many are here?
4.
Can you show me that? Can you show me 4? There you go. So we have 4 sliding, so how many would be swinging?
10.
Okay, so then you have 10 and 4. Does that make 15? Don't forget to think about your combinations that you're making for your number bonds.
10 and 5.
And how do you know that 10 and 5 make 15?
5 yellow, but then when you said, it's 10 and 5 whenever I just got 5.
Okay, so how many are swinging?
10 are swinging
and 5 are sliding.
Okay, and so that's how many altogether?
15.
15 children playing at recess altogether. Can you come up with another combination that it could possibly be? What are some different combinations that you came up with? What'd you come up with? Let's see. Samuel, you want to share how you came up with what?
I took my wreck and wreck. I put all of them over here, and then I kept on sliding them down here, and then I got a lot of different problems.
Oh, what kind of different problems did you come up with?
1 and 14 equal 15. 2 and 13 equal 15. 3 and 12 equal 15. 4 and 11 equal 14. 6 equal 15. And then 10 and 5 equal 15. Did you
Came up with a lot of combinations. How did you figure that out?
All I really have to do is take my number ball and I put over here, and then I slid, and then I minus all of them, and then I did it backwards, and then I knew, and then I did it backwards. So one goes up and one goes down, and then I knew that one of them went up and one of them went down.
I know that 5 plus 10 equals 15.
And what tool did you use to help you with that?
I used my board.
You used your board. All right. Did anybody come up with another way? We have friends that use their 10 frames. We had friends use their Rec and Recs. What Kennedy did was she built 15 first up on her 10 frame. And then she started with 10 and 5. We know 10 and 5 is 15. But then Lainey was saying 8 and 7. So I can make 8 and 7. Do I still have 15? Yes. So there are lots of different ways that we can make 15. So you still have 15 children playing on the playground at recess. But this time I am telling you that there are 6 going down the slide. Use your tools to help you figure out if you know that there are 15 children and 6 are going down the slide, how many would be swinging? What tools can you use to help you?
I already did that one.
So 5 and 10 is 15, but remember there are 6 going down the slide. So what is one of our parts going to be? 6, okay. So how are you going to figure out the other part? How do you know that that's correct?
I kept on flipping all of them to yellow.
Can you show me
Like,
what you did?
I started with 5 red, and then I started with 5 red, and I tried 10 red.
Double check that because your partner has 15. That's not my Hey, how are we looking like?
I'm red and 5 yellow. And then I just kept on like 6, and I kept on flipping them over. Then that's how I got all these.
Okay. So how many then are swinging? What's your final answer for how many are swinging?
9.
All right, nice thinking. Does your partner agree with you? Lainey, do you agree that there's 9 kids swinging?
Yeah.
How do you know?
Because one time I counted with my snap cubes 9 and 6, and I added them all together. I counted, and I thought I counted right, and I did, and it made 15.
And we both came up with the same answers.
All right. Riker, get your 10 frames and show us, please.
I started with 10.
Okay, so Riker started with 10.
I started with 10 red and 5 yellow. And then I just kept on flipping them over, and it made different numbers that equaled 15.
And we knew that 6 of them were going down the slide. So here, he showed us 6. And then how many were swinging?
9.
9. So Riker used his 10 frames and Lainey used her linking cubes. Did anybody use a different tool to figure that out with your partner? What did you come up with, Aiden?
I used my Rec and Rec.
Oh, how'd you do that?
I 6, spinning, and 9 is sliding.
And how do you know that that's 15?
Because I started with 9 and I counted on.
Okay, can you do that for me, please?
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Okay. You are going to come up with a different number, any number, 9 through 19, and you're going to write your number bonds out in your math journal. Okay, so I see lots of number sentences. Now, can you show me how this is in your number bonds when we do our part, whole? You can write your number sentences also, but don't forget to show your number bonds as well. So that's one number bond. How many more can you come up with using 12?
I'm gonna make a number sentence, then a number bond, a number sentence. Every single one.
Oh yeah, I'm doing the same thing as you, 19.
Is this one showing that? Is that what you're doing here? So then what are you going to do next? Oh, 11 and 8. Okay, can you show that on here? Okay. Do you still have 19 here? Okay. And that would work as one. And as I was walking around, I saw lots and lots of number bonds. Did anybody have more than 5 on their paper? Do you have more than 5 number bonds on your paper? All right, does anybody want to share how their brain grew today? What did you learn today?
I learned that number bonds can help us learn, and they can help us figure out a lot of ways to make a lot of numbers.
Very nice thinking. Samuel said that we can use number bonds to help us come up with lots of different ways to make up different numbers. Great thinking today. You guys did a great job with your number bonds and working with your partners and with your discussions and with explaining how you came up with your different numbers. So give your brain a kiss.
2.
Sure, 2.
Let's look at this from a kid's perspective.
I learned that number bonds can help us learn in math.
We learned about that 6 plus 9 equals 15. I love number bonds because it makes me a good mathematician.
I used the Rec and Rec, and when we were doing the 15 problem, I put 15, then I kept on sliding them over, so minusing, but I was also plussing because I took that number and then I plussed it back to make 15.
Today I used the tin flame. I like Mrs. Lehman because she is a great teacher.
I want to thank you guys for watching the Mathematical Professional Development Series in cooperation with the Wellington-Napolean School District, Blue Springs School District, Center School District, Hickman School District, and KCPT. Thank you on behalf of the Making Math Matter grant.